It began not with a bang, but with a hum, a low, pervasive thrum that vibrated in the marrow of our bones. It was subtle at first, almost imperceptible, like the distant echo of a memory you can't quite place, yet it was there, threading through the silence of the night, weaving itself into the fabric of our daily lives. At first people dismissed it as city noise, a distant generator, or the urban heartbeat. We told ourselves it was nothing unusual, just another layer of sound in a world already overflowing with noise and distraction. But the hum grew, rising just above conscious thought, a warning of something immense and unseen. It became impossible to ignore, a presence that pressed in on us from all sides, making the air feel heavier, the world more fragile. Then came the static, flickers on TV screens, crackles on phone calls, minor annoyances we rationalized away. The interruptions were small at first, like the universe clearing its throat, but they soon became impossible to overlook. We rebooted, fiddled, and carried on, unaware that our digital world was unraveling. Each attempt to fix the problem only revealed how little control we truly had. The static intensified, becoming a roar that drowned out every screen, every call, every connection. It was as if the world's technology was being swallowed by an invisible force, leaving us stranded in a sea of white noise. Radio stations hissed, phones shrieked, and the internet went dark. The familiar digital lifelines we depended on vanished, leaving only confusion and fear in their wake. Suddenly, we were alone, each of us an island in a sea of noise. The connections that once bound us together were severed, replaced by a sense of isolation that grew with every passing minute. Frustration turned to anxiety as hours passed and silence settled between bursts of static. People gathered in living rooms, staring at blank screens, searching for answers that never came. The world's constant chatter was gone, replaced by a vast, unnatural quiet. It was a silence that felt alive, pressing in on us, amplifying every doubt and fear. Governments blamed solar flares, technicians scrambled, but nothing worked. The experts' reassurances rang hollow as the hours dragged on and the silence deepened. The silence was more unsettling than the noise, a hollow, empty void. It was as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to break the tension. The world felt hollowed out, as if waiting for an event we couldn't comprehend. Every shadow seemed to stretch longer, every moment felt suspended in anticipation. The hum and static were not just technical glitches, they were the prelude to something far stranger. A sense of foreboding settled over the city, as if reality itself was beginning to unravel. We stood on the edge, breath held as the familiar world faded into uncertainty. The ordinary had become extraordinary, and the rules we once trusted no longer seemed to apply. The stage was set, but for what? No one could say. We waited, hearts pounding for the next sign, the next clue, the next sound to break the silence. The storm was coming, and we were utterly unprepared. In that moment we realized how fragile our world truly was and how quickly everything could change. The threshold was discovered by accident, a young man staring into static, a driver listening to radio hiss. No one expected that something so ordinary, so easily dismissed, could become the catalyst for a global phenomenon. It began quietly, with a handful of people lingering just a little too long in the presence of that endless whispering noise. Across the globe, millions crossed the line, 2 minutes of direct exposure to the static. It didn't matter who you were, where you lived, or what language you spoke. The effect was universal, as if the static itself was speaking to a hidden part of every human mind. It seemed arbitrary, but it was the key that unlocked something dormant in the mind. Scientists scrambled for explanations, but the answer remained elusive. The static was more than noise. It was a signal, a trigger, a silent invitation. The change was subtle. Anxiety faded, replaced by an unnerving calm. The restless energy that once filled rooms seemed to dissolve, leaving behind a strange, almost peaceful stillness. People stopped fiddling with devices, their energy smoothed into stillness. Conversations dwindled, replaced by long silences and faraway gazes. Their eyes became fixed, intense, as if watching something invisible. It was as though they were seeing beyond the room, beyond the screen, into a place no one else could follow. Blinking slow, sometimes stopping altogether, the world outside faded, replaced by whatever vision the static had offered them. Friends and family noticed first, waving hands, calling names, but receiving only serene silence. The people they loved were there in body, but unreachable, as if listening to a distant melody no one else could hear. The person was present, but their consciousness had drifted elsewhere. Attempts to break through were met with gentle smiles or no response at all. The static hadn't broken them, it had taken them. They were not lost, but transformed, changed in ways no one could yet understand. They became calm, quiet, unblinking strangers. The familiar spark in their eyes was gone, replaced by a deep, unsettling tranquility. The transformation was quiet but absolute. It swept through families, neighborhoods, entire cities, leaving confusion and fear in its wake. The world watched, baffled and afraid, as loved ones slipped away. News reports struggled to explain the phenomenon, but no one had answers. The static was a doorway, and many had already stepped through. It was as if a new reality had opened, one that only the changed could see. The line had been crossed, and there was no going back. The world as we knew it had shifted, quietly and irrevocably. The changed were among us, and their numbers were growing. Every day more people joined their silent ranks, drawn by the mysterious pull of the static. The silence deepened, and the world held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The unblinking gaze spread like a silent contagion. In offices, people froze mid-task, eyes fixed on static-filled screens. On buses, passengers stared out windows, faces serene and identical. Public spaces became eerie tableaus, still, synchronized, unsettling. The changed were not vacant. Their eyes held a strange wisdom, as if seeing another reality. Attempts to engage with them failed. Their silence was absolute, absorbing all sound. They moved with frictionless grace, living statues in a world transformed. City streets felt unreal, the usual chaos replaced by a dreamlike procession. The changed navigated obstacles with eerie precision, never breaking stride. The world had become a gallery of unsettling exhibits, reality slipping away. The stillness was only the beginning. Next came the echoes, memories that didn't belong to those who spoke them. A woman recalled a childhood on a distant farm she'd never seen. A barista described a Parisian library in perfect detail. These were not hallucinations, but vivid, coherent narratives from other existences. The changed became collages of lives, drawing from a vast ocean of experience. Some memories weren't even human, soaring over alien landscapes, feeling the sun as a plant drifting in the ocean's depths. The static had tapped into a cosmic consciousness, a library of all experience. Humanity was no longer singular. It was a vessel for countless pasts. After the memories came new languages, ancient, resonant words dropped into conversation. Linguists were baffled. The speech was structured but alien, with no ties to any known tongue. The changed spoke fluently, responding to each other in this strange melody of clicks, whispers, and tones. Sometimes their words dissolved into a crackling static, as if translating concepts too vast for human language. This new tongue became their primary mode of communication, incomprehensible to the rest of us. The changed gathered, speaking in unison, building something we could not understand. We, the unchanged, were outsiders, deaf to the conversation shaping our future. Synchronicity followed, shared action beyond shared gazes. In cafes, the changed lifted cups in perfect unison. On streets, they turned corners together like a flock of birds. Crowds gathered, moving through ritualistic motions, artful, precise, and eerily silent. They were no longer individuals, but a single organism, limbs moving in harmony. Scientists speculated about hive minds and telepathy, But the truth was stranger. The changed weren't controlled. They participated, willingly dissolving their individuality. The ego was gone, replaced by serene, synchronized unity. Whether it was a loss or a liberation, only they knew. Reality itself shifted. The city became dreamlike, its logic unreliable. Familiar streets felt alien, the change standing still, staring skyward. Their movements were graceful, deliberate, as if floating through a new world. The city's energy was gone, replaced by a calm, purposeful flow. Even the light seemed different, sharper shadows, colder nights. The city was a stage for silent transformation, and we were only the audience. A slow, creeping dread settled in, the fear of being left behind. The changed were not hostile, they had simply moved on. Our world was becoming their chrysalis, and we could only wonder what would emerge. What was the static? Theories abounded, weapon, virus, alien signal, but answers eluded us. Researchers found patterns in the noise, not chaos, but a dense, encoded broadcast. The static was the message, and our minds were decoding it. Exposure rewrote us, overwriting memories and language with something vast. The echoes and new languages were data points from the signal. The changed were not broken, they had been upgraded. It was an invasion of consciousness, a colonization of the soul. We were not being destroyed, but repurposed. Today, the static is the new silence. It fills the spaces where voices once echoed, a constant reminder that the world has shifted in ways we barely understand. The changed outnumber us. We are relics, ghosts in a world no longer ours. We drift through the shadows, unseen and unheard, clinging to memories of what used to be. We watch as they build. Structures that defy understanding, shaped by sound and intention. Their creations rise swiftly, shimmering with a purpose we cannot decipher. Their new world rises on the bones of the old, humming with the energy of the static. The past is being erased, replaced by something dazzling and unfamiliar. The changed ignore us, focused on their purpose. Their eyes never meet ours. Their minds are elsewhere, united in a vision we cannot share. What happens when their world is complete? Will there be room for us, or will we simply vanish, forgotten by history? Do we have a place in it, or are we remnants, destined to fade? The question lingers, heavy and unanswered, as we search for meaning in the silence. There are no answers, only waiting. Time stretches, uncertain, as we hold our breath and hope for a sign. We watch, we listen, and we wonder. Every flicker of light, every distant sound becomes a message we try to interpret. Fear mingles with awe. We witness the end of our species and the birth of something new. The hum grows louder, vibrating in our bones, impossible to ignore. It feels like they are waiting for something or someone. The anticipation is palpable, a tension that fills the air and binds us all together. The final transmission is about to begin. We stand on the threshold, uncertain but unable to turn away, as the static swells and the future calls.